Welcome to the BIGG Success Show. Today, 3 tips on leading from where you are.
BIGG Success with the Professor and Mary-Lynn.
Dun, 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 dun. It's graduation season, Mary-Lynn.
I was about to start marching.
I'm ready for some pomp in my circumstance.
Oh, my goodness. Well, every year there's all these great commencement speeches. Just phenomenal.
And every year it seems like we pick one and we run with it. Maybe not every year, but almost years we find one that really gets us. Examples would be Tom Hanks had a great commencement address a while back.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs has a notable one.
Yeah.
And that's just a few of the many that we've covered here on BIGG Success.
In fact, if you go to your show notes with this episode, you will find a link to those commencement speeches so that you can continue to get more inspiration.
And I'm George Kruger, a.k.a. the Professor.
And I'm Mary-Lynn. Today we're going to share another inspiring story, which was told at a recent graduation. The keynote speaker for this graduation at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln was former Nebraska football coach, athletic director, and Congressman Tom Osborne.
No, Mary-Lynn, we have to be full disclosure. We're in the same league with Nebraska.
Yes. Big Ten.
They're formidable.
Yes.
But, there's a rivalry here. So we'll try to be kind as we tell this wonderful story.
All right. Right. Today, we love the Huskers.
Yes, that's right.
But Osborne talked about Brooke Behringer. And he's a former Husker quarterback. Behringer took over the starting role in 1994 when his teammate, Tommy Frazier, was injured. Behringer helped lead Nebraska to a national championship. But the next season, he lost his starting position to Frazier, who was healed, healthy, and back, ready to take over that position. Now, instead of being bitter, which, as you can imagine, hey, I led them to a national championship. Are you kidding me?
How much better could I do?
I know. But instead of taking that kind of an attitude, Osborne continued to prepare for every game, supported his teammates, visited schools and hospitals, signed autographs, replied to letters from fans. So it was like nothing had changed.
He wore me out just listening to all the things he does. I mean, this is amazing.
I know. Now here's a really sad twist to the story. Behringer was killed in a plane crash shortly before he was to graduate. And there were 5 busloads. This is what Osborne said. There were 5 busloads of players who traveled to Goodland, Kansas for the funeral. And he said that the roads were lined with people carrying signs and flowers.
Isn't that just, it's just picture in your head, just a marvelous display.
Yeah. Osborne said the reason that there was such a turnout and that so many people loved Behringer is because he served and sacrificed and as a result made the greatest impact. Okay, just pause for a moment. What a great story, right, George?
Tragic.
Yes.
But yet, he lived as much in his lifetime as many people live in much longer lifetimes.
And how many lives he touched. Just, he's one of those kinds of people that you want to be like.
Right. And he's still touching them.
Yeah.
We didn't say this, but the story shows there's a statue of him actually outside the stadium. Mm-hmm. So he's been memorialized.
Of him with former coach Osborne.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's truly a testament to the human spirit and how even in what appears to be setbacks, we still can rise above.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it got us thinking that leadership isn't just about being the starting quarterback.
No, or the boss, right? Or it's not about running the show. It goes far beyond that.
And so today we want to talk about some leadership tips that we took away from this story. So let's get out the professor's whiteboard.
I led myself into disaster on that one, Mary-Lynn.
I'd say you did. Here's 3 tips on leading from where you are. Number 1 on the professor's whiteboard, leadership is action, not position.
Even though Brooke Behringer was no longer the first string quarterback, he still acted like a leader. Yeah. I think this is so important for people to understand, Mary-Lynn. There are leaders who aren't truly leaders, and there are people who aren't leaders who are definitely leaders.
Yeah.
And, the main way to tell if you're a leader or not is if people notice you and follow you. That's who the leaders are, and it doesn't have anything to do with your position in the organization, the company. Like it's really clear between us. I'm not the leader.
Oh.
But I have a position that allows me to do all kinds of things.
All right, that brings us to number 2 on the professor's whiteboard. Don't underestimate the value of your position.
People remembered Behringer for the value he delivered and the difference he made regardless of his position. Every position has the potential to make a big impact.
And that's big with 2 G's. That reminds me of an interview we did with author and marketing guru Scott Stratton.
The one and only Scott Stratton.
And he wrote a book called On Marketing, and it opens with a story that just explains this point on your whiteboard, Professor, perfectly. Let's take a listen.
I'm a Vegas addict. I love going. And this is probably my 13th trip there in 5 years. And I walked into the Wynn through a side door for a meeting. It wasn't even the main big entrance. And there was a guy cleaning the carpet with a huge carpet cleaning machine off to the side. It wasn't even in my way. And as I walked in with a friend of mine, he turned off the carpet cleaning machine, turned around, made sure he had our full attention, and looked us in the eye and said, "Welcome to the Wynn. Whatever you're here for today, I hope it goes great. And I really, truly appreciate that you come today."
Wow.
And looked us right in the eye, nodded his head, and turned around and kept cleaning the floor.
Man, that is the kind of employee you want to have if you're the boss, right?
Right. But again, that's somebody not underestimating the value of their position, like
exactly.
what you say on your whiteboard. I mean, every position matters. And in this case, what he did mattered the most.
Well, and just think about this. Here we are talking about it.
Yeah.
Scott talked about it in his great book. This guy has gotten more publicity for the Wynn Casino than a lot of things they could do, right? So it truly does show the power of just being yourself, but also having a service mentality.
And let me just say, it's a fantastic interview. It's a 2-part interview that we did with Scott Stratton about marketing and just timeless treasures of information in there. And you'll find the link to it with your show notes for this podcast episode. So now we're going to move on to the 3rd tip on the professor's whiteboard on leading from where you are. And that is always start from a position of service.
It's so interesting as we read this speech. Mm-hmm. For Behringer, it wasn't about football. It was about people, caring for people, supporting people, respecting people.
Right.
And we forget this. And at colleges, we sometimes forget to remind our students of this. Business is a social science. It's designed.
Yeah, it's not just about making money and
it's not
sticking it
money,
to your
follows.
customer. I mean, unfortunately, that tends to be the impression that some people get, and not all business people are that way. You're going to see most small business people, they're not making a huge margin. They're not they're not getting rich from their business. But what they love to do is serve other people and provide something that they need.
Well, and I would say they're getting rich slowly in many cases, right? So
True.
It's not some big thing where all of a sudden you got $1 billion company. They're building it slowly, but they're focusing on serving the underserved or the unserved. People who are part of a niche who isn't really being targeted by anybody else. And it's so important that I think first and foremost that we keep it in the top of our minds. We keep this one thing in our minds, that business is about serving people. And if you serve a lot of people well, you're going to do well. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing. But you got to meet a want or a need. And if you focus on that, the money will follow.
That's right. So that's the entrepreneur mindset. That's what we talk about here all the time. Even if you don't want to own a business, coming to your position at work, your position at home, coming from that position of service first is going to lead you in the right direction every time and make you that kind of person that other people want to gravitate towards.
Absolutely right. And I think every day waking up and saying, who will I be fortunate enough to serve today? Mm-hmm. Who will I be fortunate enough to serve today, and how am I going to serve them? That's a great way to approach every day. One of the best beginnings you can possibly have.
Absolutely. As well as being thankful for your blessings, right?
That's right. And the key thing to understand here is service is the richest position of all. It leads to big success.
Do you want to serve more people and make a bigger impact? Take our life purpose quiz. Find it at Big Success. That's big with 2 G's, success.com.
We thank you so much for listening today.
Until next time,
here's to your big success.
Find Big Success at BIGG Success.com.